The City of Rocks is a super special place. So I grew up in Idaho Falls, and I remember my first trip to the city. You're just driving through the vast Snake River Plain, and it's just a bunch of sagebrush, it's flat. And all of a sudden you get into Alamo, and there's these two pristine valleys with green junipers and huge granite domes and spires, and it's just like so out of place. It's one of the coolest experiences, just driving up to the city for your first time. My name is Cody Lee, and I primarily do stewardship at the City of Rocks. As a climber, there is so much to do. Your skill set really grows here because you get to be a good slab climber, you get to be a good crack climber, and pretty much every of the city's harder routes has some solid crimping on it as well. This time we rebolted Cruel Shoes, which is an aptly named 3-pitch 5/7 in the Circle Creek drainage. Cruel Shoes is one of the most popular multi-pitches in the park, and that's because it's a friendly grade, it's an easy approach, and it tops out on one of the coolest formations in the Circle Creek drainage, kind of right in the middle of the park. So you can see this from a long ways away, and then once you get there, it's fully bolted. You don't need to bring the trad gear. The anchors are great, and now the rappel route is also up to some modern hardware. So it's like everything about it is a really easy experience for someone coming that wants to do a multi-pitch experience, but doesn't want to do a huge endeavor. It's a really it's a great starting point for someone at that 5/7, 5/8 grade. Those bolts, most of them were original, and the wrap route bolts that gets high traffic were also pretty bad. We just thought that this would be a great candidate to have bomber stainless glue-ins that are going to last far longer than our lifetime, and that are not going to turn into spinners. They're not going to be sketchy. One of the reasons why Cruel Shoes is so popular is it's pretty friendly bolted. Kevin Pogue is known for making things that has a high ease of entry, so anyone can come up and not feel like they're gripped out of their mind on these runouts that do exist in the park, but this is not one of those routes. And we ended up doing a total of 47 bolts replaced amongst Cruel Shoes plus the rappel route, which is 4 different wraps. And we decided to do all of these with glue-ins, so they're never going to become spinners. They're super bomber. It's like the best practice that we could do to ensure that work is going to last a really long time. At the city, the park doesn't maintain any hardware. They're not out here fixing up bolts and anchors like they would the trails and the campsites and the road. It's like a totally different thing, even though climbing is probably one of the #1 use case for entering the park in general.
We support recreation, we are not in charge of recreation. And so there is an inherent level of risk. Most of the hardware that's out there has been installed by private climbers, route developers that hopefully have ascribed to the same safety standards that the rest of us would prefer. But there is no guarantee. Lots of stuff that went in, the hangers were homemade. There is a level of just inherent risk that you don't know that the person who put that bolt in is qualified in any sense of the term. You hope so. And so that's part of why working with the ASCA and other groups has been so important, that because there is that higher standard.